the mentality is like, well, I've already done all of this, so I might as well keep going. And this is why people stay in dead-end relationships and ignore their authentic truths.
Kelly and Julie, and we're here to find love. Today we are going to be recapping the season finale of Bachelor in Paradise 2021, season 7, episode 11. The final episode, we had so much go on. We had a bunch of engagements, a bunch of breakups, a little bit of drama, so we're going to be touching on all of that, and we'll also do a little recap of at the end of all of our overall thoughts about the season, themes that we saw, ways that we think that Paradise has been changing this season in good ways and in bad ways, and maybe we'll give out some like superlatives or something, like, I don't know, couples that we are most excited about. I don't know, something like that. We'll figure it out. Before we dive into this week's video, just a heads up that Michelle's season of The Bachelorette starts on October 19th, and we will be not only recapping each episode every week, just like we did this season, but we'll also be doing a Bachelorette Fantasy League. So Julie and I will each be trying to, predict the outcome of the season. Essentially what we do is we create a bracket and we try to guess who's going to make it the farthest on Michelle's season. So it's going to be really fun. The last time we did a Bachelor League, me and Julie did one for Matt James' season. We did like a first impression league, and both of us guessed from episode 1 that he would pick Rachel Kirkconnell. So I was very proud of us. We guessed that from the start, but the rest of our predictions for top runners are maybe a little bit medium.
Yeah, very wavy, very wavy.
But
wasn't the best.
It's gonna be a fun time. We'll be updating you all on our league rankings throughout the season of The Bachelorette. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you miss all of this fun Bachelorette content that we have in store for you guys. It is gonna be a really good time.
Yeah, we're super stoked.
Okay, so let's dive into this week's video. So as I said, the show ended up with 3 engagements. So we had Mari and Kenny, Maurissa and Riley, and then Joe and Serena. It was really exciting to see so many happy couples. All 3 of our couples went through to the end. So we also learned that 2 couples who had broken up on the show, Abigail and Noah, as well as Becca and Thomas, also actually ended up getting back together. So maybe let's start our conversation today with Noah and Abigail, since we've talked about them so much this season. I know a lot of people have been wondering, are Noah and Abigail still together? Yes, as of this recording, Abigail and Noah are still together. They seem to be at least pretty happy. Right after the show, the episode aired on television last night, Abigail posted on Instagram. I'll try to put the Instagram post up here. She posted an Instagram video of her and Noah at some waterfall, and the caption was, "I love you, Noah," or whatever his name is. So it seems like they are together, apparently in love, doing good. Other people have seen them. I think there were some reality Steve type posts, people had seen them at coffee shops together on what seems to be cute little dates. So it seems like they're still together, doing well. The breakup on TV, who knows what really happened. Julie, I know you have some thoughts about this.
This ties into the Becca and Thomas of it, because I feel like what happened with those 2 couples especially was that they both really liked each other, but they didn't necessarily see an engagement at the end of it. I think Noah and Abigail, when he had broken up with Abigail, now that they're back together, it especially signals that okay, I do really like you, but do I see you as my marriage person after a 4-week reality TV show experience? Probably not. I think I need more time. And I think that them breaking up on the show was them just being let's just kind of get out of this bubble and let's figure out if we can work in real life. And I think Becca and Thomas also had a really similar showing, and I appreciated Becca making the choice to be really realistic and pragmatic about where she saw things with Thomas. I mean, we have to remember she's the most seasoned person on the show. She's been on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and BIP. It's the holy trinity of reality TV. And not only that, but she's always found a happy ending at the end of it. I say that with as much looseness as I can. And I think that when she made the choice to break up with him and not really participate further in the illusion of like fantasy suites and then pretending to play around with an engagement, it's because she understands the gravity of like all of those decisions and where it could lead up, and her being like, hey, I just don't think it's right for me to do this. I don't feel 100%. And if I don't feel 100%, I'm not going to do that with you. And then for Thomas to leave the beach and then for them to get back together just shows that, like, they always liked each other. They just needed more time to see if they're right. Same thing as Noah and Abigail.
Yeah.
It just really felt like they like each other, but do they love each other in that way? Time will actually tell.
Totally. And I think, like, you know, Noah and Abigail, Abigail had said from the start that she likes to take things slow. I think that both of them were really trying very hard to, like, follow this Bachelorette or Bachelor in Paradise timeline of, like, okay, we're going to fall in love in 3 weeks and then get married at week 4 or whatever the timeline is. You know, they're just trying really hard to follow that timeline. But that wasn't the timeline for them. That's not the timeline that made sense for them. And it really, I think, put both of them in a pretty uncomfortable position. In particular, I mean, as I said in our last week's recap, you know, I don't totally buy that their feelings for each other were really there. I mean, I know that they've said it and that they both have said on the show that they felt like they were falling in love, but there was just like a feeling that, like, are they saying this because everyone else is saying this and it feels like this is the time you're supposed to say it on this show? And there was like a little bit of that. And so, Julie, I think you're absolutely right that, like, I'm happy that they kind of just, you know, called it quits on the show when it wasn't feeling right. But, you know, if they were feeling called to each other later on, good for them. Like, get back together, see where it's going, take things slow. Like, I think that's the right way to approach things, you know? I do think with Noah in particular, this idea that he was feeling, you know, unsure about Abigail for quite some time and losing sleep over it, but didn't want to tell her. I know that people tend to do stuff like this when they, you know, they want to protect someone from bad feelings, right? Or they don't want to, like, hurt someone, so they, like, don't want to tell them how they really feel. And I think the problem with trying to, like, protect someone by not telling them the truth is it ends up creating a situation where someone doesn't know if they can believe you fully, right? Where it creates, like, a situation where, like, if I were Abigail, I mean, you know, they're back together now, but, like, if I were Abigail, I'd be a little worried because, like, now I know that Noah will sometimes just say the things that he thinks I want to hear, even if that's not really how he's feeling. And so that would be a little concerning. I hope they've been able to talk that out, because that kind of dynamic really can lead to some trust issues, right? You need to be able to tell your partner, like, when you're having doubts. So I'm hoping that's something that they're working on. I also think that Abigail was being a little silly at the end of the breakup. She was like, well, he needs to just figure himself out. Like, you know, this kind of idea that, like, there is something wrong with him or something, there's some, like, he had some, like, lack of awareness or something. I was like, nah, like, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He just didn't want to date you. Like, he didn't want to be with you. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just not that into you. And I think that it's a common thing for people to do when they get dumped. They try to, like, spin it into this story where, like, that actually he was, like, emotionally, you know, immature, or he was, like, lying to me the whole time, or he was, like, doing this, or he was doing that. But, like, oftentimes it's not so complicated. Oftentimes it's just, like, you know, he just decided that this wasn't the right relationship for him and he wanted to go, and that's okay. You can go when you want to go. So
this goes into, like, Riley and Maurissa in terms of, like, the sunken cost fallacy, because I feel like you can always leave a relationship whenever you want to leave it. Even if you've spent years with the person, or on the show you spent the entire length of your experience with them, that doesn't mean they're then entitled to more of your time and energy just because you've had all of this past investment into them.
Yeah. Why did you bring that up in relationship to Maurissa and Riley?
So I felt like they really exemplified that during the episode, not before the engagement happened. And, you know, Maurissa was like, I feel so in love, I feel so happy. And then he left to fantasy suites, and before that he had whispered, like, I don't know of an engagement, I'm ready for that, at the end. And then she started breaking down into tears, and she was crying and saying, like, I didn't go through that for, like, nothing. I really want to get something at the end of it. I just have a problem with that kind of, like, black and white thinking in relationships, because it's speaking to that concept. And like sunken cost fallacy comes from behavioral economics, and it's defined as following through on something just because we've already expended our time, money, or effort into it. It's like, well, the mentality is like, well, I've already done all of this, so I might as well keep going. And this is why people stay in dead-end relationships and ignore their authentic truths, because they're like weighing the cost of the relationships, and they see all of this past effort and they think, well, I want this to do something, I want this to go for somewhere, and I don't want to speak about them necessarily. I think that they're just a really good model for understanding this dynamic. But I loved, like, Riley is my man this whole fucking season.
God, I was
he is so good.
Moved. The thing that he said to her, that like, when I see you, I
Sunday
see Sunday morning. I was like crying. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like the most fucking romantic thing I've ever heard. I was just like so
it's
moved.
So good.
I don't know what I would do if someone said that to me. I would like melt into a puddle. Like
I would evaporate and become like hydrogen. I don't know, like just molecules floating in the air. Yeah, I fully feel that, and I just felt like it was so. I actually liked him more when he was like, I don't know if I want to get engaged, because like, just like Becca and Thomas, just like Noah and Abigail, just because I love you, just because I want to be with you, doesn't mean I need to escalate it because of external pressure from the show or like the fulfillment of this fantasy. Definitely. And it's good to slow down and take your time. It's smarter. And for Maurissa to cry about like perceivably wasting her time is exactly why people make decisions why they that they might regret later on. It's really okay to leave any situation, withdraw your affection, your finances, your time, your energy from anyone or anything when it no longer meets your needs. And if it's no longer serving your best interest, it's okay to move on and take your resources into something that will be better. And with the show, like, you know, you're on this beautiful beach for a few weeks, but after the show ends, you have each other's Instagrams, you can have each other's phone numbers, you can travel to see each other. There's a lot of creative ways that they can create their own relationship outside of the structure that's existed within the context of Bachelor in Paradise. So I just felt like, does it suck to break up with someone on that season? Sure, but is it over? No. So I just thought that with Riley and Maurissa, it really could have gone either way. I'm so happy that they got engaged. I think it was the right choice for them. But... yeah, I love them. I'm so happy that they were able to just kind of like make the decision that worked best for them. But even if they didn't, I would be equally happy in that decision. Right. Because it's like, well, they're doing what they want.
Right. I mean, some people do walk away from the show, like, not engaged, but just, like, wanting to continue dating afterwards. And I think it would be fine if any of these couples did that. It seemed a little silly that... you know, it has to be engagement or breakup. Like, you can just leave the show dating. And I think couples have done that. So I do agree that sunken cost fallacy that you brought up, like, that's a really good lens to read many of the relationships on this franchise. But even though that was a good like example of what when Maurissa said that, I don't think that they seem to me like a sunken cost fallacy situation, because I do think that they seem to really love each other, and I think they're a really good match for each other. I do think that like the Abigail Noah situation, their breakup was like a good case of sunken fallacy, where it was almost like the entire season they were like, well, we've already started, so we should kind of keep going. Like the whole season, like it felt like they were like having doubts, but they were like, well, everyone likes us, we've already been, you know, seeing each other for 2 weeks, we should just do another week. Okay, let's do another week. Okay, let's do another week. You know what I mean? Like it was a little bit of that. But again, they're together. We can only hope that everything is going well for them. One thing that I also wanted to say about Becca and Thomas, though, is, you know, I completely agree with you, Julie, that I was happy to see her, like, follow her instincts and leave. Because, you know, what she was saying about him, the, like, too good to be true thing, I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my God, like, you just don't want to let yourself be happy, you're in a good relationship, why don't you just stay? Like, I think, like, people think that when they hear that phrase, but, you know, in the case of Becca and Thomas, it was a little bit like, what she was saying was like, you keep saying all these things that I want to hear, but I feel like I'm not getting the full picture of who you are, the full, like, who, like, you're, like, that's, like, a part of you, and I feel like I don't see all of you, like, she was saying that, and to me, what that actually sounded like was, kind of what everyone else on the beach has been saying about Thomas, which is that he's like a smooth talker, or on his season too. Thomas, whatever season Thomas was on, Katie's season. Everyone was saying about him that he would just say things, like whatever it was that the other person wants to hear, that's what he says. It's like a people pleaser mentality almost, but like on his season, like on Katie's season, that turned into like lying to people just to like get himself out of trouble and to like appease whoever was standing in front of him. And he got caught in all those lies. And so to me, when Becca was saying that thing of like, you keep saying all these like things about how you feel about me, you keep saying all the right things, but it feels like too good to be true, to me that actually it all clicks in, it all makes sense, and like aligns with what everyone else has been saying about Thomas. And so that's like been actually a pretty consistent observation about Thomas, this idea that like he just kind of, you know, just says what he needs to say to get what he wants out of the situation. And so I think she was maybe picking up on that. Now, does that mean that I think he's necessarily a bad person? Maybe not. Like I don't necessarily think he has like a bad heart or anything. I just think that you know, it goes back to what I was saying about like the trust issue. Like if you are only ever, I was saying this about Noah and Abigail, but like if you are only ever telling your partner what you think they want to hear, what ends up happening is they can develop a bit of this feeling of like, are you really like telling me the truth? Like, are you really telling me how you actually feel? All you ever say are things that I want to hear, and that you know, that is a good signal, because the truth is like no two people are like fully aligned in that way. And so if you're only ever hearing your partner agree with you or tell you all these like big romantic kind of meaningless words, like that is a bit of a red flag. It is a bit of a thing that you know should make you think like, what's going on here? Like, why is this person not, you know, telling me how they actually feel, right?
I do see exactly what you're saying about him, because I think this is what makes him a really good dater initially, but how the illusion can fall away. He's very much of a chameleon. That's why he could match with Tammy. And then with Becca, who are so diametrically opposed to each other personality-wise.
They're so different.
Becca is so different from Tammy, and for Aaron to be, not Aaron, for Thomas, I just always think of them together.
Did.
They're literally interchangeable to me.
Somewhere out there, Aaron is like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, he's just screaming. Like, yeah, like for Thomas to be able to relate to both of them, and it does show a lot about who he is as a person, and like the kind of person that he can date. It's really just, he's a very open-minded kind of guy.
He's a very chameleonic, or whatever that word is.
Like a bit of a chameleon. There's like this mutable energy that he has. I get that for sure, but then it's like, what do you really like then?
Like, who are you really, right? It's like,
yeah,
and that's the issue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly, that's the issue. It's like, if you are always being what your partner wants, who are you? Like, who are you actually? And I think maybe that's what Becca was picking up on a little bit. Again, so Becca and Thomas are back together, so, you know, and they seem to be pretty happy based on, you know,
Instagram.
What we've seen. Yeah, so.
Wishing them the best.
All right, well then last but not least, we need to talk about this Kendall situation, because we were so happy for Joe and Serena. I mean, like, they were so freaking cute. Their whole engagement, or their whole relationship was so just like sweet and authentic. The Kendall situation, to me, it was just very obvious that it was another production manipulation moment. Like, it was very much like, okay, we have 3 happy couples here. Like, since prior to the fantasy suites, these 3 couples were already so solid. I bet they were like, oh my god, these are going to be such a boring, like, last 2 episodes. We need to throw in some drama. I bet it was literally like, okay, let's just throw Kendall in. Just so we can stir the pot a little bit, because these 3 couples are like happy and are going to get engaged, and we need something to put in the finale. And so I really think that, because I'm pretty sure Kendall was not like, hey, can I go down to the proposal stage where Joe is about to propose to Serena? I want to say something. I'm pretty sure she didn't say that. And so, like, you know, I think that it was like another case of like, I just feel bad for Kendall, honestly. I feel like she was just like kind of pushed around and like forced into this really sad role for the sake of this storyline. And honestly, like, you can tell, like, she's such a big-hearted person that I'm sure she was not, like, would not want to ruin Joe's engagement. It's just, like, a very much a producers were like, yeah. Like, maybe she asked for a closure conversation, but I'm sure she wasn't like, I'll just go down when he has the ring in his pocket and then talk to him. Like, I'm sure that wasn't her idea. I'm absolutely certain that was the producer's idea. And so, you know, it's just really just a bummer to see, like, Kendall's name just being, like, dragged all over the internet. I think she's getting a lot of hate on Instagram and stuff. And, like, I just really feel like she was kind of...
not.
Yeah, I think she was just kind of thrown under the bus by this season and by the producers just because they wanted to have this kind of dramatic storyline. So, hate to see it.
Hate to see, like, for her to just have the conversation with him on the altar stage. I was cringing so hard because, like, Joe's already in his head. He's already, like, getting engaged to someone. He's making that decision to, like, make such a big leap. And then for his ex to show up and be like, I'm letting you go. He just didn't need to hear that before the moment. Serena didn't need for the altar stage to be still warm with Kendall's, like,
I know.
She was literally there, like, 5 minutes ago. And then for Serena to come down, I just feel like that was really a mindfuck. I think I'm happy that Joe didn't say anything when he was proposing to Serena, and he just kept it about them. But, like, now their proposal is always preempted by the fact that Kendall had walked down those steps and had the conversation about letting him go. And it's just one of those things where, like, I don't believe that closure perfectly exists. You can't ever reach perfect clarity and understanding between two people that have broken up. You just can't. Like, you're always going to see things a little bit differently, and you can totally respect where each other is coming from, but there's nothing that the other person will really say that will just fully release you until you give that to yourself. I just know that, like, that conversation on the beach probably didn't give her what she was looking for. She probably walked out of that feeling really weird.
I'm sure she walked out feeling awful.
Yeah, like, I just talked to my ex before he was proposing to his new girlfriend. Okay. And, like, the things they were saying to each other, too, of him being like, I think you're a catch, and I think you're wonderful. All of those words, I think they're true. It just felt insincere in the moment. Like, he wasn't able to be present to, like, Kendall and her emotions and energy because he's in a totally different headspace. Totally. So I just could recognize that, like, even though they were connecting and talking, they weren't really, like, able to be there and be present for each other because Kendall was probably feeling uncomfortable from, like, the production, and then he was feeling uncomfortable because he's like, is this seriously happening, like, right now on this stage at this place at this moment?
And that's the thing, it's like it's all the more reason why, like, I really don't think any of it was her idea. Like, maybe she wanted to have one more closure conversation, but I don't think it was her idea to do it in this moment, and I don't think it was her idea to she had any intentions of trying to sabotage Joe and Serena, as I've seen so many people say on the internet. Like, I really think this was, like, production saying, like, okay, we know Kendall said she want to have a last conversation, we'll send her in right at this moment just to see if we can blow up the Joe and Serena thing. And then it goes back to, Julie, what you were saying last, I don't know, a couple episodes ago. It's like the real villains of the situation are the producers. The producers saw a happy couple, Joe and Serena, and they were like, how can we try to sabotage them as much as possible to create drama for television? And they used Kendall as the pawn in it. And to me, that just, not only was it so disrespectful for Joe and Serena, for the producers to do that, but it was just, like, cruel to Kendall. I thought they were being cruel to put her in that kind of situation and to put her, you know, in a situation where she is, like, needing to have a conversation or, like, wanting to have some kind of conversation, to your point, like, to understand something about her relationship with Joe and, like, why it ended. Like, that was a conversation that maybe she really did want to have, but they, like, really didn't allow her to have it in a way that would actually be meaningful or satisfying. And maybe nothing would satisfy her, and maybe nothing, like, to your point, like, closure is weird and complicated and is something that you kind of have to give yourself. But, you know, to basically sabotage not only Joe and Serena's proposal, but Kendall's ability to really move on, like, that to me felt like really overreaching for the producers to do all of that.
Ooh. Yeah.
So I think she was put in a really, really tough position through no fault of her own, you know?
Yeah, let's definitely talk about the major takeaways in the season, because this was one, Chris Harrison wasn't a part of it, and I think it brought such a fun and lightness to it. It just felt very contemporary. It felt very 2021. It felt very sex positive. I want to also talk about the engagement component, because I feel like The Bachelor still subscribes to this like patriarchal view about like marriage, and that's when your life begins, and this is the most special moment of your life, and this is the apex of dating, blah blah blah. That's not true. Relationships can take on many different forms. I just feel like the franchise needs an entire revamp of how they position these happily ever after endings. I think that's why production butts in a lot. They only want the engagement, they want the ring, and if you don't give them that, then you have to give them drama. You have to give them like, it's very, very like stark and black and white, and it's, as a viewer, it can feel kind of gross to see when people are puppeteering certain emotions out of the contestants to get a 5-second teaser, or they get like Twitter talking about this one situation. I would just rather see real people navigate tricky dynamics on their own, because I think that's the fun of it. It's just
love is already dramatic without producer manipulation. Love is already dramatic. Relationships,
it's so
there's
dramatic.
always drama, so like you don't need all of this weird manipulation of the situations. Like I don't know why they have to do that.
Yeah, like Kendall, I felt like that element of it this entire season has felt really forced and just hasn't served anything. Like, yeah, maybe there was like a little bit of excitement during this season. It was a lot of drama, but like at what cost? And I know Kendall's being very playful about it now, but it is very painful to kind of be in this dynamic where you're seen as like this ex that can't get over their boyfriend.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, overall thoughts on this season, yeah, I would like to see a little bit less producer manipulation. It felt pretty heavy-handed this season. Other thoughts, I mean, I know for me, one thing that I loved seeing is, it was a very, very diverse cast. There were some issues around, I hated seeing the kind of like racism, colorism that was going on with some of the storylines related to Natasha, Piper, Brendan. Like, I really didn't like, and just in general, it just felt like, it was like a little weird at the last episode seeing like all these guys pick these like random white girls who just came down the beach like yesterday over these like incredible dark-skinned black women. Like just like seeing that happen like over and over. It was like, ugh. I know it's not any one individual person's fault, but it was just like, this is a little upsetting, and it felt like not much progress. When you see stuff like that happening over and over again, like a white girl or lighter skinned person getting picked over a black person or a dark skinned person over and over, like, even Jasenia and Alana, like, you just keep seeing this happen. Like, it just feels like, like, I hate this. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it just feels like there is a pattern here. There's something going on. And so, I hated to see that play out even in a cast as diverse as this one. But like on the other side of that, there was like a lot of progress made with this season. It was so exciting to see Maurissa and Riley get engaged. They're the first black couple to get engaged on this entire franchise. And like, that is so exciting. It's just so awesome to see just like two people who are so fucking in love and like just get to have this black love story. Like, I love that. I was just so happy to see that. And also all of the women in the final 3 couples who all got engaged, they were all women of color, which was awesome. I really enjoyed seeing, Serena is Asian, Maurissa is black, and Mari is Puerto Rican. I was just really happy to see all of it. Like, that to me was like very felt like a good step forward. So there was a little bit of a step back in some areas and a little bit of a step forward in some areas with the season. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that the season was also really, like, sex positive. The fantasy suites wasn't seen as, like, ooh, like, we're gonna have sex now. It's like, I've already been having sex with you.
Yes! Like, 2 out of 3 couples had already had sex before fantasy suites.
Exactly. Like, I've been with you and I experienced a lot of sides of you. Yes. And the fantasy suite is really just off-camera time to talk about, like, this whole situation, that felt really fun. It felt a lot different than how the show primes it to be. Like, that's what dating actually feels like. If you want to have sex with someone, just do it.
Right.
Just be safe and have fun. Like, I was thinking that at the end of the montage where you just saw all of those different people that have been on this season, it just reminded me of camp, like very sexy influencer camp. Like, everyone is just hot. You're walking down and it's like, oh my god, I could like date you, you know, like it's that kind of like energy. It just feels so fun, and I want them to lean more into that instead of like, I want to marry this person. It's like, no one thinks that when you're dating someone, and if you are, then you're not really wanting to love someone. You're wanting to like fall in love with something else. I know those are fighting words, but I'm just gonna say that. I know.
I love it. I'm here for it.
But I just think the first thing you think of when you see someone is, I want to marry them. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I think the first thing you should think of is like, are you high? Do I like you? Do I get along with you? Am I mentally stimulated by you? Do I like your mind? There's all of these other things. And then if those things connect, then it's like, maybe I want marriage if that's what you want. But for people to have that as their initial thought kind of like freaks me out a little bit. I don't think they're dating with the right intention.
For the right reasons.
For the right reason. I mean, we're here to find love, right? But it's like, love takes time, y'all. That's a journey.
Love takes time. Love takes time.
It takes time.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. Okay, now let's just do a couple quick superlatives, just because it's fun. Maybe we can do something like, how about like couple most likely to like stay together or get married or something like that. Let's just stay together. Couple most likely to stay together.
Okay, I think the couple that's most likely to stay together is probably going to be Riley and Maurissa. But it was split between Aaron and James. I just that's why I was so in thought.
That's true.
Because I genuinely don't know. Like, I don't know if any of these couples are going to stay together in the long term.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's so hard to tell because they're meeting in this like very extreme situation. So it's like
super extreme, and like,
who knows what
real
real
love
going to be like.
Yeah, you're going to get thrown a lot of curveballs. They're young. Like, who knows where things can lead them.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily subscribe to forever as being a marker of happiness. So it's hard for me to be like, which couple out of all of them. For some reason, Serena and Joe, I don't know.
You're skeptical?
I have my thoughts. Yeah, I'm a little bit skeptical of them. I love them. I think they're so in love with each other. But their age is a factor that I think will show up later on because she is 23.
Oh my god, I forgot she's that young.
She's really, she's very mature. She's very, very mature. Don't get me wrong. But she's really young, and I don't want to, like, underestimate the hurdle that's going to have with any of these couples.
That's fair. That's fair. So you said Maurissa and Riley. I mean, I was going to say Joe and Serena, not because I necessarily am, like, completely sold on them. I just think I'm more sold on them than any of the other couples.
You're right.
Yeah, and they seem to be pretty secure. They have such good communication. Like, one moment that stuck out to me is, like, on the proposal stage when he was like, yeah, my ex just came down the beach. And she went, like, really? The first thing she said is, like, are you okay? Like, that was the first thing she said. Her first reaction is to check on Joe and not to be like, oh, my God, I can't believe she did that. Or, like, oh, my God, like, she didn't make it about herself. She was... first instance to take care of Joe. I just thought that was so sweet, like, to have that kind of reaction. So I just feel like they have a lot of the good bones. Like, I'm sure age will be a challenge, but like, they have such good bones of their relationship, such good communication skills, so good at showing each other affection. So like, that to me, those are all good signs of, you know, a relationship that could, you know, be sustainable in the long term. Yeah. So that would be my guess. Favorite couple, I would probably say, is Maurissa and Riley. I just fucking love them. They were so freaking cute. That Sunday morning thing just fucking destroyed me.
It was so... I mean, who doesn't want to hear that? Yeah, it was very romantic. I agree. I think Riley and Maurissa, for me, transcend into favorite couple as well. I just loved their entire love story. And how, like, uncomplicated and straightforward it was outside of the whole Connor situation at the beginning. They were both very all into each other, and they were able to kind of like learn about each other's different ways of like communicating and relating and their love languages, and put that all together to create a relationship that felt very like fortified.
Totally. I agree. Okay, maybe the last one we can do is just like contestants you want to see more of. Who do you want to see back on the beach next year, or you know, back on, you know, their own season of Bachelor, Bachelorette? Do you want to go first?
For sure, Natasha Parker.
Yes, I agree. She was like number one on my list. Please, I want Natasha to be the Bachelorette. That's what I want.
I want all of the three ladies that I've really just been like vibing with this season. Natasha, Deandra, Kendall. I want them all back. Yes. I want them to all fall in love. Maybe Tammy. Agree. Why not? Throw her in the mix. Yes! Let's just get all of these people. Let's get them to fall in love with someone. Yeah. I'm ready for it.
I agree. I also, I really loved Tajwan from earlier in the season. I know she went home so early. She was just so funny and great.
Without air conditioning, though, I don't really use air conditioning sometimes, but, if it's that high, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going home.
I get it, girl. I get it. Yeah, and then my last one I would probably throw in there is, Aaron. I just fucking love seeing him on television.
James, too. Why not? Let's get James to fall in love this time.
I know. I mean, Aaron in particular, I just think he's just so freaking funny. Everything he says, I'm like, what are you saying? You're just saying words. Facts. Facts. Big facts. I'm like, what are you saying, dude?
What are you saying? Let us know what you're thinking about your favorite couple, the people that you want to see more on this Bachelor Insanity franchise, and who you think will stick together and make the distance.
Leave a comment down below.
Okay, so everyone, this was me and Kelly's very first season recapping all things Bachelor. We loved it. We have so much fun doing it. We always have so much fun talking to each other, but more so than that, just really thinking about something so frothy, so light in this reality TV show context, and repurposing it with psychology and relationship dynamics and all of these different theories that we think can genuinely help people as they're watching the show and talking about how they would navigate dating themselves. So we had a lot of fun recapping it. We're going to be back for Michelle's season, which we're super excited about, to do the fantasy league. Join in. We want to interact and hang with you guys. So we can't wait to do it all again. Always let us know what you're thinking by subscribing, liking, commenting, engaging with us in conversation. We want to hear more from you, and we'll see you soon in just a few weeks.
Bye!
Bye!